Hey, DV. I'm good, man. Just caught my trade for the day. So I saw you took EJ sales, and I was trying to work out. You took shorts up over here. What did you see like in order for you to take shorts here? Because like I couldn't see anything like going back. So like you took shorts. Hey, shoot. Hope you're doing well, mate. So I saw you took shorts up over here. By that point, price was still like bullish. We had this push, we had this move, we had that. We kind of create this internal structure and we kind of came down. So I would have been expecting price to head higher. Afternoon, Adam. So that's my trade for the day, guys. I'll break it down. If there's any pairs anyone wants me to have a look at, just drop them in the chat. I'll cover my gold trade that I just took and why I bought this and why to here. Hey, Marcia. Yeah, but you gotta remember that's risky. Like, you know, that's probably going to be something that plays out once in 100 times. There's no real confluence entering a trade. Like, you literally entered AUD USD. Yeah, sure, I'll have a look. You literally entered here on 3 minutes. No worries, shoot. Welcome. If you're, are you in our Discord server? If you're not, then there should be a link. But if you are, then nice. So you can see here was the breaker structure we had. So there's the internal breaker structure. So this was the low that caused the high. This was the retracement. So like, if that was me, morning coffee. So if that was me, the trade based on how we trade, I would have seen would have been something like this. So it would have been, this is the low, swing low, that caused this high, to break here. Now we have an area of demand here, which if we're going to continue with this current trend, this current swing structure, we would expect price to head back down here and continue higher. Now you can see price came down, we had a reaction, but demand failed, and we created some nice supply here. So now that we created supply over here, I'll be marking this last indecision candle here and seeing this as a change to the downside, marking the low to the high. There's our target range. There's your area there, having your move there, like a 1 to 7 there. And then we reverse from here. So the trader's always a short here. The buyer was the short from up here was pretty risky because you counter trend trading into something that we kind of didn't know if it was going to go bearish or not at that point. But GG's anyway. Right, so AUD USD. So AUD USD is it's in a bit of a funny situation. So if we break this down from higher time frame, I actually did a one-to-one session with somebody earlier and we were covering this off. So let's go on a weekly time frame. You can see we had a weekly breaker, so we had this huge massive push to the downside where we had a weekly breaker structure here, and then we started to enter a retracement over here. So we had this weekly swing structure that was formed, and then this was the pullback. Now we've started to push to the upside. I definitely think there's a lot of upside from a higher time frame for AUD USD. But then coming down into the daily chart, so this was the weekly pullback, and then here we had this big daily push to the upside where we kind of closed above this region here. So as we had this daily push up, we entered a daily pullback over here. Now going down on a lower time frame, this was all part of the daily pullback, and then we had some 4-hour structure here. So here was the last 4-hour breaker structure to the downside, as you could see here. And then all of this price action was internal, because none of this broke above this previous high. But here we broke this previous high over here, so we had a change of character to the top side. So once we had that change of character to the top side, you could see price came all the way back down and took out these lows. But that was just a retracement off of this market structure. And then after that, you could see we had a push above over here to mitigate this area of supply. Now, I do still think there's some downside to this before we continue higher, and I'll just explain. We have this entire daily swing leg, well, it's a weekly swing leg and we have daily structure in it. But if we mark the low to the high of this, you can see we have a perfect pullback area down here in and around 0.64000 with this area of demand, with this huge area of imbalance for price to fulfill. So overall, long term, I'm expecting price to take out all of these lows here and continue down before we see a major shift back to the top side. But what we did over here was we had a change of character to the top side here, and then we kind of shifted bearish here again and we started to push up. But this push up never gave us a closure on a 4-hour above this range, and we mitigate this area of supply. So then we entered a pullback from this swing structure, which you have this low here, and we came into this range. Now there's two things about what price is currently doing. Now again, market structure is very it's very complicated depending on how you read it and how you perceive it. So there's structure within structure. So we have our swing. Within this swing we have internal structure. Now where price is currently, based on this swing, it's in a significant area to continue pushing up. But I think that's highly unlikely because the daily pullback from this big push up has not been, it's not complete. We haven't yet mitigated this region yet. So I personally think that this push up was just a liquidity grab from here, and what I'm expecting to see is price to continue lower until we mitigate this area, to then see a higher time frame shift, and for us to then start to continue back to the top side to do what? To start heading long term back up towards taking this structure out, because on a weekly time frame you could see price has had this huge sell-off, massive sell-off, and we've now entered that retracement. So for a moment, if you forget this is a weekly structure, we create a higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. What can we expect? We can expect a lower high to be formed here. That's obviously not going to happen just in one go. We're going to create in this uptrend higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. So we can expect price action to do something like that. So you could perfectly see on the weekly, price perfectly came back into this. Now on the daily, we're going to do something like this, to continue pushing up, to take out this previous swing structure. So, it's important to be able to understand where within price action you're trading and what the likely objective is of price and where it's kind of heading. Now, if price here had closed above this 4-hour high over here, then I would have been a lot more confident that price is going to continue bullish here. But we failed to do that. So the likelihood is that that's a liquidity grab above here to mitigate this area of supply, to now head back to the downside to take out a lot of these lows, and to continue pushing down to mitigate this area of demand. So the better trading opportunity when price is in a range like this is what you really want to see. I'm going to delete some of this stuff here. I'm going to delete this. So what you really want to see, delete this, just look at the wider structure. So in order for price to shift bearish, we need this low to be taken. So what you'd really want to see is price to break this 4-hour low and then give you some sort of a retracement. So if we break this 4-hour low here, we've now mitigated this supply, headed back into that bearish stance. And then if we just preemptively say, right, say price heads somewhere towards this area here and creates a new 4-hour low. Say we have a change of character here back to the downside. Well, actually, it'll be a breaker structure because we already had a change of character back over here. So say we have a 4-hour breaker structure over here. We now potentially have created a nice level of supply. If we can see something like this and price to head back into here, for us to look to short and continue selling off into these lows. So where price is now on AU, it's kind of nor here nor there. So you kind of want to see a clear definitive direction on price before you kind of get involved with this. But the likelihood is that we've mitigated this, we've swept liquidity above here, and the failure to close above this on a 4-hour after we had a change of character to the downside is an indication that potentially we're heading down. Originally, this push down and a change of character down here was only a pullback off of this entire swing structure, because remember, this is all internal. None of this price action broke above this, so all of this is internal. So this is the low point that caused the previous high to break. So if that's the case, we're looking at this as a swing point, and that's why you see price reacted from here. But the reaction should have caused a 4-hour to break above this previous 4-hour high. We wicked above it and we closed above on the hourly, but the 4-hour created equal highs here. So that bearish structure was still intact from a 4-hour perspective. So hopefully that makes sense. So that, like I said, the likelihood is we see this low taken and see some sort of retracement into this area of supply, because everything above here is efficient. Come back up to mitigate this to continue shorting. Now I'll break down my gold trade that I took. So gold, why did I buy gold? Interesting. Overall, I'm net short, and I only bought up to this point, and I'm kind of leaving gold to give a clear, definitive direction. Now, for everyone that's in the Discord, that in the one-to-ones and lifetime, they know, you know, in my weekly watch list, I was calling 2040, 2055 was a key area of so-called reversal for gold. And by reversal, I mean enter a daily pullback, which currently this is our daily swing low. And this is our daily swing high up over here. And how are we going to trade that? Once we see a 4-hour change of character, which we saw over here. Now, on an intraday basis, you could see price, when we had a 4-hour change of character down over here, price was perfectly creating these internal breaks of structures. So we had an internal break of structure here. We had an internal break of structure here, and then you could see price pulled back to this high, to the extreme, but failed to break above it and then started to shift bearish. Now what I was expecting is on the close of last week, we kind of closed price around here somewhere. So what I was typically expecting was for price to come back into this area of supply originally and to sell off. I walked away with 150 pips on gold. Nice. So I was expecting price to mitigate this area of supply and to sell off, but that never happened. Now in this downtrend, we created some structure, which you could see as we were pushing up here. We kind of created this structure, but if we look at the swing low, we kind of took out these lows over here, and then we pulled back, and then we had another internal breaker structure just over here. Now, in order for price to take out this swing low here, I was expecting this internal high to remain intact and for price to not break above this. Because if price breaks above this, I'm not saying it can't continue down, but then the internal, so if we're in a downtrend, so if we look at price and we say this is our 15-minute downtrend for argument's sake, in order for price to maintain this, say like a 5-minute chart, we need to see this happen, and then the pullback is an uptrend. So say now we're in the impulsive leg to the downside, we need the 5-minute trend for argument's sake to remain bearish until we break structure down over here. But we never did that here. This was the internal higher low, in my opinion, that needed to be protected, which wasn't, and price broke above it. So internally we shifted bullish and we have failed to take out this low. Now I'm not saying price from here isn't going to come down and take that low out. It can, but it failed to do that here, so we broke above. So if anything, internally we had a change of character back to the top side. So now when I saw this and we had London Open, price started to push to the downside. Now again, understanding structure is super important. Now everything in here is internal. All of this price action is internal. Why? Because here is where we had the pullback, and then here we sold off. Now we didn't do anything like this to have a change of character. You could see internally we just started to pull back. So when price came up to here and we had this internal breaker structure back to the top side, I'm now looking at this point and saying this is the, this is the low that caused this previous high to break. So all of this price action is part of one move. Now you can see I've got my Fibonacci tool marked from this low all the way up to this high. So now preemptively already, as London Open has happened, I'm looking at price. Now I didn't want to short into here because price might not come all the way down to here. Price might come to this point and start pushing back off to the upside. I'm not going to anticipate where price is going to go to. I'm going to wait for price to get into certain key areas in order for me to look at taking trades. Now, you could see there's my fib from the low to the high that caused the breaker structure to the top side. And you could perfectly see here, just going to darken this a bit because it's a bit, go to 75, let's go to 75. Yeah, so you could perfectly see we have this area of demand that perfectly sits within this swing structure. Now on a lower time frame, you know, whether you look at 10-minute, 5-minute, whatever, the demand sits within our fib confluence. So as price comes into here, I'm just waiting to see, right, okay, are we going to blast through it or what's going to happen? So on a lower time frame, you could see price comes into here, we reject to the top side, we reject to the top side. To be fair, I could have got in over here, but I just wanted to wait for this minor little supply to fail and price to push up. And you could see we had that indecision candle on a 15-minute. We had the closure here and then price perfectly closed back within the range. And as this candle started to push, I'm looking for an entry. Now, why did I not take my trade for price to break above this high if internally we shifted bullish? Because in the same breath, this could be a liquidity grab above here and we still had this area of supply that was unmitigated. Now, from a swing perspective, where is our current 15-minute high? It's this. Well, technically it's this, but this is equal to that. So it's this. And we're still anticipating price to take out this low because in order for price to shift bullish and for us to expect price to head higher, it needs to take out the swing structure, which is this. So there is still opportunity for price to continue down. But what I saw was we had a shift the market structure here internally. Price mitigated this supply. We came down. We perfectly respected demand and our fib confluence. And then you could perfectly see what I've marked out here. We had this build up of liquidity and we had this imbalance perfectly resting here. So for me, it was like we shifted bullish. If we're going to continue higher, we're obviously going to push up from this point. But if we're not and we do decide to continue bearish, where's the likelihood of that happening from? The likelihood of that happening is from this point, which you could see the reversal effect, liquidity, inefficiency, supply here, boom. And now look where exactly where price is starting to reject from. Perfect, perfect, perfect point. Now, you know, the buy was there based upon what happened here. Now where gold is, I'm not interested in trading gold because I need a directional bias. Internally, we shifted bullish. From a swing structure perspective, we're still bearish because this is the lower low and there's our lower high, which is still protected. This is all internal. So now I either need price to break out of this to the top side and have some pullback to continue pushing higher, because then that's telling me that the 4-hour pullback has come to an end, which we already had a 4-hour change of character, and price is potentially going to head back up into these highs to mitigate supply before we continue pushing down. Or price does what it was continuing to do, which is take out this swing structure and then this point up here becomes our swing high, and then whatever low, wherever the low point finishes becomes our low, and then we expect price, then I would be expecting price to come down into this area of demand before we potentially, so here's our 4-hour, this is all our 4-hour sell-off, and within this we have, 1 hour, 15-minute lower lows and lower highs. So if I now then say that the 4 hours had a change of character, which we can see here, now you could see we have a daily break of structure over here. So once price, again, whether it's a daily time frame, 4 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, when we have a break of structure to the top side, what do we expect? We expect a retracement. That's just the natural course of price. So when we've had a daily break of structure to the top side and we've mitigated higher time frame supply, what can we expect? We can expect a daily pullback that daily pullback has been confirmed with a 4-hour shift of market structure. And you could see in this entire leg to the top side, price perfectly has a 4-hour breaker structure here, 4-hour breaker structure here, 4-hour breaker structure here, 4-hour breaker structure here, and then the last 4-hour breaker structure here. So we perfectly maintain an uptrend in order to fulfill this daily push to the top side. So now, where we've had a change of character, we can expect to see price enter a pullback on the daily, which will mean a downtrend on the 4-hour. Now, again, most of this price action is internal. This is our 4-hour push to the downside, and we can expect a potential pullback up until this point, and then expect price to do this until it gets here, and potentially shift or roll over and continue down. So once you start having those that understanding from a longer time frame of where price is potentially heading and why it's heading in those directions, those are pretty key and significant things in order for you to trade. So based on how I read market structure, I understand where price is now. That is it. There is no other trade for me now. I have to be patient and wait to see what price does. Does it take out this low? Does it break above this high? What do we do before I have a directional bias and a sense in where I'm looking to trade this? But on an intraday basis, seeing the shift in market structure to the top side, seeing that pull back into this area, seeing price fail to break below this low and have an internal breaker structure to the top side, seeing this liquidity, seeing this inefficiency, seeing this unmitigated area of supply, multiple confluences in order to take a buy and continue pushing price up. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm waiting for price to get back into this demand and I'm going to continue buying. No. But hopefully you understand, and that gives you a bit of confidence and confidence of why I kind of took that trade. So yeah, nice 139 pip trade. Pretty happy with that. So you can see, like we were speaking, AUD USD, looking like we're going to take out this previous low after this change of character we had here. But again, nothing is confirmed until the low is taken. What else do we have? So AUD CHF is fast approaching that. It's tapped into that daily area of demand, sorry. But I want to see at least a 50% into this zone before any kind of trade. AUD JPY just never gave us a deep enough retracement here. So when price came here, I was expecting a pullback in order to get into this, which hasn't happened. So no trade on this. You took sales on gold in 1999.73. Nice at the top over here. So yeah, AUD JPY. I think, you know, I'm going to delete this because I think the 4-hour pullback is going to be complete before price ends up pushing higher. So you can see we're in a daily pullback after the daily break here, and that's that key area I'm targeting before the next drop down into the 85 region. So as you can see, we had this 4-hour breaker structure here. We entered a pullback. So now if price comes down here, it should be more buyers in comparison to sellers for price to continue up into this area of supply, and then look for reversals at this point. because this is the key area for our daily pullback for continuations to the downside. Look at gold now. What else do we have? AUD USD, we've already spoken about that. Not much on CHF. Euro AUD, nothing really. It's in this supply, but there's no trades. Same thing with Euro CAD. There's no pullback trades as of yet. So Euro GBP, interesting. That's pretty close to mitigating this swing 4-hour structure. So now again, the safer trade with this. So you could see here, internally we've had an internal breaker structure here. We had this push down, then we continued higher. So personally, I think that the safer trade is, you know, wait for some sort of tap in, wait some sort of change of character, and then start to look to trade this down. If we get that. Because that's the pullback complete. Well, it should be in this region up here. There's the swing high. Here is our swing low. Perfect pullback into this unmitigated area of supply on the 4-hour. See supply on the 2-hour. Last unmitigated, last bit of imbalance. We've tapped into this. Like I said, internal breaker structure here. Wait for that shift on the lower time frame. And then potential continuations to the downside. Euro JPY, not much in it, to be fair. We had an internal breaker structure here. You know, price could pull back into this region. It's reacting from this demand, but either it's going to come here and continue higher. The only time I would be looking for shorts in this is if we get a break and some sort of a pullback. Like I said, there was a potential pullback trade here, but that's kind of long gone. So for now, it's not much with this. Euro NZD is in a high time frame area of supply, and again on a 4-hour, you could see we've had this big push up here. So we do have this area of demand that's unmitigated, but in this uptrend, we had this push up, we had a pullback, and then we had this break above. So really, price needs to break below this low, then give some sort of a pullback for continuations. Till that point, we could just retrace to this point and continue pushing higher. So not much in this pair. Euro USD is pretty much nowhere. I'm really looking at Euro USD to mitigate this daily area of, we had a daily breaker structure here, but I'm waiting for price to mitigate this daily supply to enter a daily pullback. So I'm expecting price to head up into this region, tap into this before we start to see some shorts. So for now, I'm expecting a new 4-hour high to form here, and then potentially trade the 4-hour pullback. And then if we see a new 4-hour high, this will become our 4-hour low. Then if we can see push above, change of character, retrace it, we can then start to look to short Euro USD back down. But right now it's, you know, it's nor here nor there. We're close to breaking that high. We have this 4-hour demand. Which is probably this level of demand here. So potentially if price heads back down here, there could be some buy opportunities, because I'm definitely expecting price to take out this weak high and create a new high to mitigate this area of demand, supply, sorry, before we see a deeper pullback. So everything below here is pretty efficient. You know, demand is mitigated here, demand is mitigated here, mitigation here, we've mitigated this demand. So we do have some equal lows here with some liquidity resting below here. And we do have this area of demand, which kind of sits within that 4-hour area of demand. So this could be a nice area. And we have some imbalance here on the hourly chart. So, we could refine this even further to here. There is the equal lows. And there is that area of imbalance. So if price can continue pushing down here and tap into this, because we saw this aggressive push, so we're kind of seeing that retracement off of there for the next push up. We had supply here, but you could see that failed because price broke above it. So there's multiple confluences for continuation to the top side, but this will be a key area, in my opinion. Pound USD, I kind of missed shorts on this one. This was a perfect sell-off, you could see, but it was during Asian session, so I was asleep. So if we go to the higher time frame, I would have went low risk with this, purely because overall price is bullish. You could see 4-hour breaker structure here. Price stayed above this 4 hours, so we didn't have a change of character to the downside, but we had mitigated this daily area of supply up over here. So that's a good catalyst. And also, you could see we had a daily breaker structure. So this was a good area to see potential shorts here. Sorry guys, one sec. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so we could, this is a key area to enter a daily pullback before we have the next leg to the upside. So there was a lot of confluences to kind of short from here. But again, like I said, it was Asian session. You could see that was the perfect supply zone. That was the last bit of imbalance. Everything else was mitigated. Supply here. Price perfectly tapped into it during Asian session, and then we kind of melted. So it is what it is. What I'd like to see now is, can we get a closure below this? And then we have demand that's resting here. So can we get a change of character here? Because there's the 4-hour low that needs to be broken. Because this is the low that caused this high, which caused the previous high to break. So if we can get price coming down here, change of character, this then becomes our new 4-hour swing high. And then potential pullbacks into here for continuations, and start to trade this 4-hour daily pullback. So, yep, I missed this. It is what it is. What did we drop off from this point? 102 pips. So, yeah, so now, again, this is just a waiting game. Like, I don't really want to buy into this because we're at high time frame supply, so I'm expecting a pullback, and also we've had a daily breaker structure. You can see we've got some strong momentum kicking in here. So if price was really going to break and create a new high, we would have seen maybe like this happen. But currently this is the swing, but you can see we've got some strong selling pressure. So I'm expecting price to take out this previous low here. So if we can kind of get that and then see a change of character here, we could trade the 4-hour pullback and then look to start trading back down for that daily pullback. So yeah, GU missed a good trade, but plenty more opportunities. Just need to be patient. NZD USD, nothing much in it. USD JPY, so this was again, all these are on the weekly watch list. I kind of missed the trade, but the trade was here on a lower time frame. So if we go to the higher time frame, we could see we had a change of character here. This was the key area for pullback on the 15-minute chart, this area of supply. As you can see, we pulled back into that, and on a lower time frame, here's our internal structure that we created. High, high, higher, low, high, high, higher, low, high, high. Boom, change of character, pull back into supply. So that's where we should have been looking to short from this region here. You know, keep our stops above this swing high. Then if we go to the 15-minute chart, now why is price pushing up from here? This could at least been like 85 odd pips, because if you see it from a reversal perspective, you know, that's the area. There's some kind of support here as well, and I'm not saying price is fully going to reverse, but this would have been a good place to take some partials, at least close like 70% of your trade, and then if price doesn't break above this and rolls over, then keep the rest of your position going. But if price breaks above this, then close the remainder of your position, because pretty much everything above here is efficient, and I wouldn't really be expecting price to break back to the top side. If it does, this is the key reversal point, and you then just close out. But that was a good trade opportunity there, which if you caught it, nice. NAS, not much in it. It's just pretty sideways. I'm not even really going to cover this, to be fair. So any trades anyone wants me to go over? Any questions, anything at all? See gold, perfect. Perfect execution. Look where it's selling off from. Exactly the point I kind of said. No worries, ankle. I can have a look at through some other pairs to see if there's much happening. AUD NZD looks like a pretty decent potential, either shorts or wait for price to get into this area of demand. So AUD NZD, you could see we broke out of this range to the top side. We came back, perfectly pulled back. Now we're starting to head back up, head towards this side. Now, lower time frame, you could see this was our impulsive leg. We perfectly maintained structure. This was our pullback off of this move. And then from this point, we had a change of character heading back to the top side. Now, you could see this is pretty extended in one direction. So as we had a change of character of mitigated supply, now we've had an internal change of character back to the downside. So if we get any kind of retracement, we could be looking to trade this back into here. Otherwise, there could be nice continuations after this 4-hour pullback is complete. Because here, these are very minor pullbacks in comparison to the entire move. So this is the current pullback, which comes from this area of supply. And I'm expecting price to take out this previous week high and continue pushing up to eventually head back up towards this area. So do something like this. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, eventually work its way back up to take out that structure. So I'm actually going to add this to the watch list. Right, guys, no questions, nothing, nice, short and sweet. 46 minutes. I need to head out. Have a good one. If you're not in the Discord, feel free to join up. If you are, trade safe, and I'll catch up with you guys